It's 8 a.m. and a beautiful 77 degrees in Miami, Florida. You're listening to Lofi Poli Sci. Oh yeah, it's your Monday morning edition of the Lofi Poli Sci podcast. I'm your host Michael Pickering, here to talk about our famous question, what's going on in the world today? And we'll get you your local traffic report and your 5-day weather forecast for the weekend in just a moment. But for now, straight to it, the news, fresh off that press. And right away, we return to New York City for the latest updates from the United Nations meeting. And let's go over for a few quick ones first. The president of Senegal, President Macky Sall, is asking countries of the world to help African countries that are facing armed insurrections, which honestly, there are quite a few going on at the moment, sadly enough. So he's straight asking for the international intervention, which needs United Nations Security Council approval, which they never agree on anything. So we'll see how that goes. But President Buhari of Nigeria, well, he wants developed countries to stop hoarding vaccines. And you know what? He ain't wrong. Prime Minister Hasina of Bangladesh is calling for the elimination of all nuclear weapons. Cool, I dig it. Let me know how that goes and when it happens. Greece is mad at Turkey about Cyprus. Pakistan says the former Afghan UN ambassador should be booted because that government no longer exists. And they kind of have a point. And Japan says North Korea is a threat with nuclear weapons. And on and on and on they go. I mean, really, 193 member states in the United Nations. Check it out. There's so much being said last week and this week. And ironically, lots of it is the exact same thing they were saying last year. Curious, is it not? So instead of people saying things, let's turn our attention more of a situation and see what the United Nations is doing or saying about what's going on in the crisis and military coup in Myanmar, which, if you remember, happened on February 1st of this year, after the military took over because it said the elections were rigged because nobody voted for them. Oh, poor crocodile tear for the military that brutally suppresses everyone who loves democracy. Oh, I think not. But what's the United Nations saying about this situation now? Well, the UN Secretary General says he's with the people who love democracy and that are fighting the military. But the UN Security Council members and veto players, China and Russia, both supply military weapons to the military junta in Myanmar. So, basically, the United Nations will do nothing while another democracy bites the dust and another military brutalizes its people. Wow, United Nations, don't you just inspire freedom-loving people everywhere? Now, let's go ahead and switch gears, though, to something that won't piss anyone off, unless you're driving and caught in traffic, because we're going to bring you your local Metro New Orleans traffic report for all you commuters out there this morning. And for all you coming into the city from the North Shore crossing the Causeway Bridge over Lake Pontchartrain, careful as always on that 20-minute drive over the bridge. But it should be pretty clear driving with no rain or fog. And if you're using the ferries to cross the Mississippi River, the Lower Algiers Chalmette Ferry is closed until further notice due to previous bad weather. You know the one I'm talking about, August 29th. And the North Rampart St. Claude streetcar is still out due to the Hard Rock Hotel collapse that happened a million years ago. You should, therefore, seek other means of public transit if you rely on that route, and you should probably keep seeking it for a very long time. And be sure to check your local bus listings as well, as 15 different routes are reported in delays or detours. So some stops are being skipped. And if you're coming in from I-10 via Metairie, expect the normal delays and congestion around the Veterans Boulevard on-ramps, as well as delays around the airport exits. Or, as I like to say, if you really want to avoid traffic today, do yourself a favor. Take this Monday off. Stay home, sleep in, read a book, watch something. Take an extra day for your weekend. And that's your Metro Traffic Report. Now let's get back over to New York and the United Nations General Assembly and check out what President Erdogan of Turkey is talking all about. Well, Turkey, a member of NATO, was supposed to buy some U.S.-made F-35 jets. This happened quite a while back, was supposed to happen. However, they were booted from that deal because President Erdogan of Turkey decided, He also wanted to buy Russian-made missile defense system, and he went ahead and did that, which apparently pissed off the U.S. to no end. And the theory goes that since Turkey started buying military equipment from Russia, and if they were doing the same but from the U.S., that eventually Russia would end up with U.S. military technologies via Turkey. And that the U.S. will not abide by. So now President Erdogan is just going around and saying he'll do what he wants, he'll buy what he wants, blah, 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 yeah. We know, Erdogan. Turkey is yours. You're a dictator. And that's why you're going to meet President Vlad the Impaler Putin of Russia this week. Have fun with your new BFF. Because, like you, he's a dictator, too. Now let's move to a country and a prime minister that's no less messy, even if just only a little bit more democratic. And that would be Prime Minister Modi of India. Now, what's he up to in the UN this week, you may be asking? Well, Pakistan and China. Though without saying either by name, he's calling them out. See, China and India dispute each other's borders in the mountains and challenge each other in the Indian Ocean. And if you know how China plays at the sea just from thinking about the South China Sea dispute with so many different countries, you know what we mean. And the whole issue with Pakistan is that India claims that the Taliban from Afghanistan that just took power are sponsored or part of or connected to the Pakistani government. And while there is a Pakistani Taliban, that is not the same as the Pakistani government. And it seems, though, that Prime Minister Modi of India believes that the Taliban of Afghanistan is connected to the government of Pakistan as well, not necessarily the Pakistani Taliban, which they are connected to, but it's not the same as the Pakistani government. And if you had trouble following all of that, don't worry. You can always hit that back 15 seconds button to replay it. Because it is complex. That's the United Nations. The politics of the world is complex. There's nothing easy or simple when talking about what's going on in the world today. It's always messy. And perspective is always important. And context. But hey, we just call that another day at the UN. Am I right? Now let's go ahead and get you your 5-day weather report. It's a little less complex out there for New Orleans for this week. And our first official full week of fall. I'm so excited about this. Right now, it's 8 a.m. and a beautiful 71 degrees and blue skies here in the city. It'll be partly cloudy today with a high of 85 degrees. And for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, though, it's going to be in the lows of the 70s with the highs in the mid-80s. And of course, partly cloudy with a chance of meatballs, sitting right around 60% those days. So get your meatball repellent umbrellas out. And Friday, it's going to be between 72 and 86 degrees, humid with clouds and sun, but only 9% chance of meatballs, so not that much spaghetti going on Friday. So we should stay dry going into the weekend. And it may be fall, but we still have a while before we see cold. I mean, if we ever see cold, because this is, after all, New Orleans. Now let's switch gears again for our last piece of news to send you on your way for the day. From New York to Switzerland we go, for they had a referendum over the weekend, a vote to see about legalizing same-sex marriage. And survey says 64% of the Swiss population voted in favor of yes. And now, same-sex marriage is indeed legal in Switzerland. Very nice, my friends, and congratulations out there. For people in the yes camp said, though, that this vote was 8 years in the making, and really a lifetime's battle for equality. Read up on this, people, for sure, and see how even in some of the freest and most democratic countries in the world, people are still fighting for their rights and equality. And that's your Monday morning edition of What's Going On in the World Today. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode of Tuesday's Top 10 with writer, director, bookseller, and Hipsville AD's Gregory Day. And the list? His introduction to political cinema. Oh, yeah. And look out for Saturday's issues of Letters of the Lofi Poli Sci, with our theme being Dear Diary, Life is... And always remember that Lofi Poli Sci is more than just me. It's the we that we be. Peace and well-being to all my human beings out there. Much love and always the best. Pickering, signing off.